our guest, Marilyn Wilkinson, who's a retired teacher. Thank you, Marilyn, for agreeing to be in this interview with me. So I'm just going to ask a few questions. We'll get right into it about communication. We've been learning in our readings about how communication really revolves around planning your communication, deciding how you're going to create the documents, and then also disseminating the documents. So can you tell me what are some of the things you think are important when designing a message for a specific audience?
I think it's important to make sure that your message is clear and to be open to other suggestions, especially like when you're communicating with a parent about their children. You need to be able to hear as well as tell.
And maybe even accept that communication should be a little bit different depending on the way that child perceives communication themselves.
I do, and I think it needs to be timely.
Okay. What are some of the methods of communication that you used while you were employed as a teacher by the staff and by the students?
Well, it depends. I was a teacher for nearly 40 years. So when we started out, everything, if they weren't face-to-face, they were, pen and ink.
Okay.
And so things took a long time. Where towards the end, it was emails and text, and I often thought that because it was written, a lot of times you miss the true message, because people misunderstand writing sometimes because you can't read the facial expressions. And,
right, get the feelings behind it.
And sometimes my definition of a word isn't the same as your definition of a word. So when I would write a word, I might mean it in a good way, but it meant something different to you.
Right. All right. And basically, I know you said you were a teacher for really about 40 years, so I'm sure at some time communication methods changed even during your tenure. What were some of the changes, and do you think they were for the better or for the worse?
Some were good and some were bad. It was nice to have things in writing because it gave, as a teacher, if I was going to send a note home to my parents, I put quite a bit of thought into it because I wanted them to get my true meaning. Where in the end, I wasn't any longer communicating with parents. I was communicating with the student, and even though it should work out better, that it was immediate. I really could know if they got the message. Lots of it, those sort of things, it wasn't the reality of it. Students don't check their email. Students, I can't even tell you, it just wasn't good. We did not communicate well.
No.
What I thought I was saying, I wasn't saying. Our vocabulary changed so much. It just, to me, it was hard. And it was hard for me to understand. I often could not relate because the world had changed so much. Communication was so different.
Right. And the students were used to communicating in their own way,
right?
Which kind of left you out because you were used to doing it your way too. Right. Which brings us to our last question. Or no, not the last one. Maybe it is the last one. All right. So as you talked about, communication has changed over the years, and I think one of the biggest changes that even I've seen is social media. And social media has many different formats and styles for multiple methods of communication. Do you think social media has a place in today's education system? And can you explain if you do or you don't?
I think it does have a place. Uh, I think it's important for students to see how lessons really apply to life and to take advantage of their classmates or um, family, friends on topics. Um, if I can't even think of a good example, but well, maybe even if we talk about school shootings, let's say, um, if I was just left to my understanding, I wouldn't be able to understand how that really applies to the high school in my community, because I might not understand what are the parents feeling,
Right.
what are the students feeling, how afraid are they, what do they um, I just couldn't feel it because I didn't experience that violence in school.
Right.
I don't know how that is. So I really think it does have a place. And even if we're talking about a writing assignment in a grammar class, um, grammar, so old, right? In a composition class or a writing class, um, you need to understand the language, your audiences, and so if we use social media, we can expand our horizons. Our understanding, our reality really grows with the social media. And if we're talking about a skilled trades type class, oh my word, all that YouTube stuff, you can learn so much. It
Right.
just really expands your horizons. So I think it does have a place. Um, and I just also think sometimes my generation has a harder time with that.
Yeah, and I could see that, and I think, like you said, though, it's a great resource. It's a great.
Exactly.
It adds to our resources, but then, yeah, on a personal level, maybe it doesn't really need to be in the classroom for personal things, but like you said, for different assignments and things like that, it could definitely add to even what a small community. We have very limited resources as far as the different types of things that we see, different types of things that are hitting the news, and reaching out through social media gives us an ability to actually reach people in other states, even to see how things are impacting them, somewhere that is quite far away from us.
Yes, I think so. Or, you know, our little rural community versus the big city.
True. Yes, exactly.